Hello, and welcome to the first Foundry Authors Academy event. I'm Cerberus Films, and tonight, or this afternoon, or this morning, depending on where on earth you are in the world, I'm joined live by Captain P.F. Dennis, Commodore Bob, Bazag, Skydawn, and SlickRick1701E. Say hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Howdy.
So this week's stream will be aimed at getting across the basics, basically. Wow, that's good grammar. The first things that you'll need to know when you're creating a mission. We'll begin by going over the user interface and briefly familiarizing you all with the different tabs. Then we'll be breaking it down further and demonstrating in much more detail each aspect. Feel free to ask questions as we go, and we'll make sure we'll try our best to answer them. So yeah, shall we take it away? We'll begin with Captain P.F. Dennis showing us the general interface and UI.
All right. Well, this is the first thing you're going to see when you open up the editor. And the very first tab at the top is the Project tab. Now, under this Project tab, you have the name of your project. Right below is the ID number given to that project, the author name, which is your in-game handle, the language that the project is in, and the allegiance, whether it's the Starfleet faction or the Klingon faction. And then the skill level required to play it is beneath. Then you have the description window, which will show whenever somebody goes to pick your mission up. If you select this mission, the description, the contents of it will be in that box. This is the first thing the player will see, so it's usually good to throw something in there that's really going to draw the player in. Next is the private author notes. And that's just little notes for yourself, maybe to remind you the last date you tweaked it or the date it was published, anything. But the player won't see that.
As the captain, we've already got a question from the chat room. How is the skill level determined?
The skill level is usually determined by the mobs that you pick, the enemies that you put in your mission.
Mm-hmm.
Like
So
Klingons and Orions generally are the lower ones, and the top ones are Borg, and the Tholians, I guess, would also be up there.
Mm-hmm. I think we'll probably be going over that when we go into the maps tabs and such. But next to each NPC group or mob group, it will display what the level requirement for that. It will make the mission then.
Alrighty, and we're going to move on to story. Now this story tab is like your skeleton for your Foundry mission. It links everything together. Every element of your mission is put here in a line. It's a linear storyline. Though you can make branching dialogues, you cannot make branching objectives. So it's linear from start to finish. Notice you have the start flag, the green flag, and the checker flag, which is the finish. Everything else goes in between, and right now we have nothing. But this is where your whole mission takes place, in this storyboard window. All the other tabs are merely to create elements to go into your story. So we'll go on to maps. Maps now is where you create a map. You can delete a map, actually, and duplicate a map. But
sorry to disturb you again, Captain. We've got another question. Can someone alter the story post its initial publication? Can we, or is it set in stone?
Oh no, you can always withdraw the project. You can even edit it while it's published. Each time you publish, it overwrites the previous publish. So it could be online, people could be playing it, and you could be in the editor working on it, and then when you're done, you republish it, and it takes the place of the previous version. Unless it becomes a spotlit mission, in which case you're locked out of it, or if you want to make changes to it, you have to pull it out. You can't be in the spotlight at that time. Anyhow, the map tab, they said you create your map, delete and duplicate. You can get up to, I To be honest, I am not familiar with what the exact limit is now. It used to be 10 up until very recently, that you could have a limit of 10 maps, but I've had 11 or more lately. So I'm not exactly sure what the number is, but it's probably more than 10, lower than 15. That's my guess. Anyway, but it was limited to 10. And then this is where all your editing takes place. You'll bring your map up once you've created it. There are custom maps you can make. You can edit them. You can actually edit every map, but there are some pre-made maps that Cryptic has put in there, or you can make space maps from scratch, ground maps. But they're all editable, and everything you add to the map will take place in this pane. Next, dialogues. Now, this window is probably one you'll use least. You can create a dialogue in here, but generally you won't. You'll probably add the dialogues in the storyboard pane or drop dialogue bubbles directly onto the map and edit them that way. But in this pane, once you begin adding dialogues to your mission, they'll all show up here in a list. So you can quickly click on them and edit them if you need to. All right, costumes. Now, create costume tab. This is where the NPC magic happens. You create a costume. It's either going to be, well, first you have to name it. It's either going to be a ground or a space character, and a ship or a regular NPC. And you'll do all your editing here to create your costume. And once it's done, it shows up in the costumes tab in a list that's empty right now. But they'll all populate here. You have a limit of 50 on those. Now, that's basically it for the tabs. Down here in the bottom pane, though, you have your notifications. If you have something missing in your mission, that notification will show up in this pane below. Whenever you see anything down there, it's something that has to be addressed before the mission can be published. You'll even see a yellow triangle that most of the time tells you that there's an element missing. Maybe dialogue has to be edited, or some component isn't chosen correctly. But we'll get into that later as we go into these panes in more detail. So that's it for the UI, the overview of it. And I guess now we're going to take them one by one, starting with story. All right.
Yep, and we'll hand that off to Bazag.
So as on the right-hand side, we have a list of various things we can do. There's cryptic maps, new indoor, new exterior, new space map. There's the research space map as well, and there's a few other objectives below those as well. We'll look at the objectives in a bit, but first we'll start with the maps. So if we just look at the cryptic maps for a moment, if you could drag that onto the main tab, Captain. Let's just quickly drop some Talk to BC objectives in there, and we'll just quickly show you how cryptic maps work.
Okay, dialogue with contact.
Put a second one of those in if you can after that one.
Sure.
Okay, let's select one of the PCs. Cryptic maps are basically you use basically the social zones from Earth Space Dock, Starfleet Academy, Kronos, Andoria, Vulcan. They're all represented here, and there you can see a list of all the social zones that come up. Let's choose someone from Earth Space Dock to go talk to. Because, on the left-hand side you have the list, but you also have the representation of the map on the right-hand side. And you can either access from the list, that's just drop down, or you can zoom into the map and choose one on the map. So let's talk to the person up there in the green segment. Talk to someone,
the market speculator.
Yeah, the market speculator. He's in the exchange. So let's talk to him. And Cryptic Maps is a banner sort of map. It can apply to any and all. And so even if you change to a different social zone, you can still just use the one cryptic map object to do that. So if we can set the second one to be, let's say, set it on Starfleet Academy, one of the Starfleet cadets there. Yeah, so here we've got two different cryptic maps, but they're all belong to, they're all a part of the same map object. So, and we'll go into more detail how to set up a dialogue with contact objective a bit later. So we'll move on to these new maps. Let's put in a new outdoor map. Scroll down. Okay, as you can see, it's created a little object here for us to transfer from the social areas to a new custom map. There's a whole map selected there, you can't enter a custom map from anywhere. You have to choose a door, and this applies even if you go back to a cryptic map during your mission. You have to choose a new entry place for the next lot of custom maps. Yeah, and there are some of the doors that we can choose there. So if we go back to go and have a look at our new map that we've inserted, it isn't really a map yet in a way. We've created it there, but we've only told the game that we want a map there. We haven't specified any details about it. We haven't said we want it to be a custom map. We haven't even said that we want it to be a pre-made map. We haven't, the map hasn't really been created there. It's just saying we want a map in the story at this point. So we could continue to put objectives in here, kill enemies, dialogue with contacts, or reach markers, or any other objectives. We'll go to our next part, adding in a map we've already created. So here we've got research space map, which I've gotten Captain P.F. Dennis to add in earlier, and we can see a bit of an overview there. Also, just above that, you can see that there's a partially created map. That is I think it was a space map that we dropped in earlier. That if you want to set up the details for that, we could do it via that tab. But if we just go back to the story tab for a moment, and let's remove the new map. Yeah, so you can just basically drag everything to the bin that appears up in the top left corner. So we're dragging in a map that it's a very basic map that we've already created. A research map, a Romulan base map, and I've created a small little scenario that the Romulans have captured Captain David Ford, and we have to find him and rescue him from his Romulan captors. So to do that, first we need to actually find him. So if you want a player to go to a specific place on a map, you can drop down what's called a reach marker. and then use the reach marker objective to trigger when that. Yeah. So Captain's just pointing out where we've placed ours on the map. So if we could, Captain, get you to choose that marker in the objectives. So what he's doing here is dragging the reach marker into the map section. And here we've got some various options that have come up to determine. So that's the dialogue that comes up when you need to choose one, and we've chosen it. And here's some other. It's a bit laggy, so I'm not quite sure what I'm talking about. But we have a mission text, which is the text that appears in our log mission tracker. That describes what we're trying to do. Next point is waypoints. It's currently we've got two options: automatic or none. Automatic will create a circular or oval shape around the objective that you want to go, and none will have no waypoints. So if you want it to be more mysterious but harder to find, then you would use none, but automatic is usually the best way to keep it at. And then there's a marker, which is the actual place you want to go, and then at the end, they've got this reach text. When you use objectives, you can have some yellow text flash up on the screen. So let's write in there, we've detected Captain Ford. But while we've detected him, unfortunately, there's some Romulans in the way, so we'll have to try and take those Romulans out before we can actually save him. So, Captain, if you could bring a kill objective down. And I've dropped in some Romulans on our other map, so if you could try and set those. Yes, it's good to type in some text there as well. So that's basically what it looks like to choose. The icons that you see on the left-hand side of the objective boxes will be the icons you see when you go to select an item. And here, the only difference between the reach marker and the kill objectives is that we only have one set of options. Is that the encounter? What mobs do we have to kill to satisfy the encounter? So So at the moment we've got our one group set up, and if we wanted to add more, we can add encounters. But for now, just one will do more. One will be enough. Okay, and finally, let's add a talk to contact with NPC dialogue. And now that we've found him and dealt with his captors, we can actually talk with Captain Ford. There. As we can see, there's a bit more options there with this one. Apart from specifying the contact, it'll come up with the costume when we actually find him. And so there's only that's Captain David Ford there, and we can add a title, which is the person that we are talking to. It'll come up with text. And then describing who that is, and we can also say what we want him to say in the text box below that. So let's say, "You found me." Let's have him say that when we find that. You also notice that, and we can also change the way he looks, not necessarily the way he looks, but the way he presents himself, the emotional animation that he has in the contact window. Up in the top right corner, you can see that we have play from beginning of story. We won't do that specifically, but if we could go to the map tab for a moment and just play through the map. So unfortunately, it's just preparing the preview now, and loading the map. So previewing is something that we can that you'll have to do fairly regularly to test combat, to just make sure everything works. So yeah, here we are. We're in our Romulan base. So let's go and try and find Captain David Ford. Okay. It's the reach marker should be right at the end, right in the corner ahead. So he's our and the okay, the text did that come up on your screen, Captain? The text? Because it didn't come up on. I didn't. So the text should have appeared, but we see the Romulans ahead. But you can definitely see in the right-hand corner that the objective to find Ford has been completed. So let's just use Foundry hacks and kill these guys. Or we can actually do it properly, because they seem to be fairly easy. And there we go. We have talked to Ford at the very end. Oh, and he's all tied up like a prisoner should be. All right, so that's basically how it looks. But there is one other objective that I'd like to discuss, and I think the map is missing something. It's missing some more information about the Romulans, about what David Ford might have told them. There's a lot of chance for more investigation here. So let's put some Romulan consoles down in the back of the room, Captain, if you can, and we can add those. Okay. So we're going to the map tabs quite a bit. As you can see, if we are doing this style of mission creation, which involves, creating objectives and creating the map at the same time, you will be going through these tabs fairly quickly. Yeah. So we've got two consoles there, that'll do. And if we can go back to the story tab. Let's add a interact with objective after we've talked to David Ford. So as you can see, Captain is dragging and dropping. If we were to place it, drag it in between the kill objective and the dialogue with contact objective, it would be slotted in there. So where you drag it, it will be put it in. So Captain's shifting around the objectives there. So we've got like the kill enemies objective. We have an object that we can add more objects to. So if you wanted a single objective to involve interacting with multiple objects, we can do that via that. But we also have some more options here. There's interact with interact text, which will be the text that comes up. That when you approach, when it's time for the objective, it will be the text that comes up for you to interact. So let's say operate computer system or something like that. I'm not entirely sure what he's reading there because it's too small on my screen.
It says
then there
access
is
computer.
yeah. Okay, and then there is the animation. So when you interact with an object, you can set the animation to what the character will do when interacting with that object. So you can make the character look like it's typing on a computer or scanning something or picking up something or whatever animations there. There's just there's quite a few there available. So he's typing quickly. And the last one is duration. That's how long you want the interact to last. You can set it immediately, which means there won't be any animation played, and when you press the F or click on it, it will happen. I mean, it'll just happen immediately. There is long, medium, and short. So if you want something to take a long time, medium time, or short time, then it just depends on the circumstances, and what you want, how long you want the interaction to take place, what setting you choose here. Alright, so I think there is also one other thing that, a couple of other things. So we've got a second console. So let's put in a second interact objective. This time, we want this one to be slightly different to the other objectives. We want these to happen at the same time. So, Captain, drag it at the bottom there. And then let's drag these on top of each other. So, just let him set up this first one, this next one. The text in there, get it ready. So let's drag that second interact objective that we've created onto the first, and let's see what happens with that. Okay, so as you can see, it highlighted the whole box, and now we have something different here. It's complete all. So when we go play through this the next time, we'll come to the kill. Once we complete the kill objective, we will have these two options to do. We can do one, but we have to do the other. But it doesn't really matter which order we do them in, as long as both objectives here we can move on to the next step, which is, in this case, talk to the contact. There's just basically one final thing here in the storyboard. The pop-up dialogue. Sometimes when you want to tell a story, you need to put in dialogue that is part of the objective tree. So the pop-up dialogue will do that for you. So if we could add one after both of the interact objectives. So here we've got these chains that we're creating here. Once you complete one chain, that chain is complete. But the progress of one chain doesn't interfere with the progress of another chain. So let's add just a random computer console as a thing and as the contact costume. Yeah, that'll do. There is a search function there if you're looking for a specific item or if you know it's something Romulan, but you're not entirely sure what it's called. There is a search function there. So here we've created an interact with a computer console, and that console will give us the information below here, that whatever we typed in. So we'll say, it doesn't really matter what we say here, as this is a test, but let's say this is what the captain told us, for one. And for the other one, this is why we want the captain. So this is just basically to maybe describe, to use a storyboard to give players information about what is happening, what the Romulans are doing, why they wanted him, what information they got out of him. Just that the information that you need to tell the story and to convey that story to the player. And I think that pretty much wraps up the demonstration of the story tab. So I think I'll hand it back to Cerberus.
Thank you very much, Baz. So yeah, that was caught me completely unprepared as well. Right, so now we're going to be moving on to the Maps tab, and to begin with that, we're going to be looking at the ground and interiors. Although actually, let me hold it right there for a second. Does anyone in the chat have any questions so far about the storyboard? So yeah, let's move on to Slick Rick, with maps on ground and interiors.
Okay, to start with the maps, you click on the Maps tab first.
Let me clear these out for you.
Okay.
And then we'll, firstly, let's just empty this. Okay. Make it completely clean.
Awesome.
Okay. Alright. Maps tab.
Okay, now the first map we're going to create looks like SETI Alpha 5 from Star Trek II. So, let's see. First thing you go into is you click on the Create Map, Exterior Map, and then it's going to be Desert for the filter. And the filter basically tells you what the different terrain is going to be. You can have moon, icy, desert, forest, everything like that. So for this one, we're going to use, I can't see it very well, but it's Red Hills. Or is it Red Dunes, whichever it is. The one at the very bottom.
Red Desert Hills.
Yeah, Red Desert Hills. Yep, that one.
Oh,
okay.
We're going to call it SETI Alpha 5?
Yep. Okay, and in order to make SETI Alpha 5, you're going to create from, I believe it's which tab is it? It's going to be the Details tab, and it's going to be Weather Effects. Red, it's going to be Sandstorm. It's going to be Dust Storm Heavy 1. And you throw 3 of those in there. And one thing you want to do is throw them in different spots of the map. That way it doesn't completely cloud where you are. And those people that have less powerful computers will find that if you do that, it will lag them out, and you won't get a very good review for lagging them out. And also throw in an invisible object. That way there's a reason to go to the map.
Okay, where did you want to put that?
Put it anywhere. Alright, and let's check and see what this map looks like. So, play map. And this is some of the simpler things you can do with ground maps. There's also more complicated things to do, but this is the basic things that you do with the ground map. Just changing the weather effects and making it look like a certain set. And that's not as much of a sandstorm as I have in mind, so you might need to add like 3 or 4 more. But as you can see, we just sat down at the garden spot of SETI Alpha 5. Real beautiful, lush planet. So go back to the editor and add a few more sandstorms. Yeah, I just select the sandstorms. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Yeah, just throw them around everywhere. Okay, and the first time I did this, it took me a while to get all the sandstorms right, to have as many sandstorms and as much as I wanted. But you don't want to have so much to where it completely blanks out everything and you have like a all tan screen. Because that's never good either. Okay. Let's go ahead and load the map. It's actually kind of a hill. And the thing about the invisible object is it's actually on the ground based on terrain. So it's not going to be dragged on top of the mountain. It's actually going to be dragged on the bottom. That's still not as much as it was. Well,
remember, this is all going to be limited based on the computer graphics.
Oh, you're right.
card.
I can't see it as much as he can, but it's probably a pretty wicked sandstorm. So, as you can see, I changed the weather effects. Now let's change the sky effects as well. All right, so just click anywhere in the map, backdrop. And let me see. I can't see what you're... make it night sky.
Alright, so
Yeah.
let's go to night. Well, let's, there's 6 exterior sky nights. Let's just pick the center one.
Yeah.
Seems dark.
Whichever one's the darkest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That looks dark. And you want to hit play?
Yep, hit play.
Oh, there's a 7-second delay from
When I'm talking...
he gives the... Right.
See, yeah. And you
The
will
one
see...
is- of the internet.
This is when small talk comes in handy.
Yeah, this is where the whole thing's rendering. So this is SETI Alpha 5 at night. As you can see, it's a beautiful starry night in SETI Alpha 5. Lovely planet that had another planet explode next to it. Yeah.
Details, details. It's still the holiday destination to the Ferengi.
Exactly. Actually, you would think that that would be like a watery planet that's got ridiculous monsoons.
No, I was
Warm
meaning
and
like
sticky and
they were
buggy.
selling it off to.
Yeah.
They're selling it. They're plastering it with the things like come visit the lovely, warm, nice planet of SETI Alpha 5.
Come visit the hot baths of SETI Alpha 5.
See the dirt and your skin peel off.
Mm-hmm. And that's another interesting thing, because when I wrote my mission that I included SETI Alpha 5, I couldn't have EV suits, so I had to write around how they could beam down onto that planet but not have EV suits. So what I said was you were able to beam down to the planet without EV suits because you had the shields, so you were safe. So I had to include that little bit of dialogue to explain, hey, by the way, you're beaming down without having your skin ripped off. Okay.
One of the other joys of the Foundry is coming up with the workarounds that you have to include.
And you're like, oh, okay, so that's about the only way to fix it. Yeah.
Sometimes it makes them even more creative, and that's a wonderful thing, I think.
Yeah, that's the awesome thing about the Foundry. And,
Creativity by limitation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
All right, so that's basically how you put together a basic ground map. And if you want to throw NPCs in there, you can throw NPCs in there. Objects, same thing. You just basically put them into the map. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to create an interior map. So we're going to use to Fed Interior 02. Yeah, that's a pretty dull, boring map as you look at it from the beginning. And when you get in there, set the spawn point in the middle of the middle room. There, it's already there. Awesome. Okay. Load that map so they can see what it all looks like. And as you can see, it's pretty much a warehouse. Federation warehouse. So, in order to make a custom map, you have to completely redesign the inside of this map. Alright, go back to the editor. Now, in order to make the interior of a Federation starship, you need to be uniform with the objects that you're going to be putting in there. And you also need to hide the walls that are in that original map. So we're going to be using wall generic ship number 3. Since this is the inside of a Federation ship. Alright, now... Okay, drag... put that on the edge of the wall and move that, put it on the wall all the way around. And then show them the multiplication tip with, the geometry of the object.
You mean location?
Yeah, location, and then copy and paste, however many it takes to go up and go up the wall, and then go across the wall, and then go down the wall, and then.
Well, the best thing to do at this point is to get a bunch of them out there.
Yeah.
They kind of overlap, or else they won't come together.
And this is where the Foundry becomes time-consuming, shall we say?
Yes.
He's part of the Foundry that most people are like, ugh. Yeah, but this... See,
I'm not doing an expert job, but I will do a... So, let's go to
It's quick, it's dirty.
exactly.
the multiple object grab here.
Oh, I know what you're going to do.
And we're going to duplicate that. Drag it over. But I can't use the mouse to drag them. And just in case it's not still highlighted. Okay, I'm going to flip that around.
See, you all lucky learning the Foundry this way. We didn't have this to begin with, so we had to drag each object across the map and then do it all the way across, and up, across, down, and around. Yeah.
And our maps, I guess, it was harder to place the objects because
Yeah.
they would never line up exactly where they need to be.
Yeah, there'd always be some sort of large gap. And you go back in. Be the same gap, go back and forth, back and forth. But the thing that patience. If you don't have patience,
Oop.
then the
Clicked a
Foundry.
little too hard there. Okay, let's see. Oh, we're not going to get that. So.
Yeah, put a wall door there too.
Yeah.
Just not a.
Let's do this. And get a wall door number 2.
I want to make sure it's not a wall door that can open.
Oh, you don't want it open?
Here's an interesting thing that you're going to learn about making maps. When you're making maps, you do it almost like in that you want to keep people's objective or what they're looking at where you want them to look. For example, I was able to create a beach cloud. Now, the thing of it is, it would be very difficult to fill an entire map with nebula, along with all the other crazy things that go on in that. So what I did was I created a specific path that people could only go, and they couldn't deviate from that path. So by doing that, I keep people's attention where I want to keep it. So by closing off this room, that's the only thing they're going to see. That way they're not going to walk around and see all the other stuff that's unfinished. I guess I'll open the floor for anything that anyone else wants to, please.
You can also use this technique to make custom rooms, especially if you're out using a large exterior map. You can use this technique to sort of just, if you don't like the way these rooms are boxy and squared, you can make your own custom rooms. You can create them on the ground. You can create them up in the air. And so, this technique can be used to create just about anything you want in terms of play area.
Alright, we only got one.
All right.
Oh,
That's pretty much
it. And then we just load the map. Looks like right now.
all right.
You'll have this load screen burned into your retinas by the time you're done.
There you go. Now we've hit the walls. Now, you still have an open space. So what you're going to do is, all right, go back to the editor. Make sure, of course, you're going to run around the map. Make sure that all of the that all of the walls line up, and there's no gaps in the walls. Because if there is, trust me when I tell you, people will notice them.
Yeah. That's why I overlapped them, and you can see where they overlapped here, because it was a bit too much. But I wanted to make sure there were no gaps.
Yeah.
But I'm doing this on the fly. So. Okay.
All right. Looks. Your bridge officers get in the way. I was going to say, kill your bridge officers.
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
So ruthless with them all.
Yeah, you can kill them all. Okay. Start setting up like some office space along the left side of the wall. There's, let's say 1.5 walls in.
Okay.
What I'm making here is a sick bay.
Okay, what do you want to do? Just go 2 walls out, or?
1 wall out, and then go up.
Okay. Good. It's about even, if that's what you're looking for.
And then you're going to put a wall door there. That way you can actually get in the room.
The small room in the center, is that what we're going for?
Yeah.
Let's do this.
And then throw a couple bio beds in there. Actually, throw the TOS bio beds in there.
I know the top one isn't backwards. The bottom one might be. Because you never know what side that pin is going to be on.
Oh.
Oh, that's interesting. It is backwards, let's see.
Oh. So, that's an obvious, okay, you go back and rotate that 180 degrees from where it was.
Yeah, some interesting points being made in the chat. Just sorry to interrupt very quickly. Things like with pre-made sick bays and or pre-made stuff. Unfortunately, there aren't any. Well, there is the original series sick bay, and we possibly have sick bays in the Defiant class map and things like that. However, if you really want to make your own thing and customize it, they aren't exactly the easiest thing to go ahead and do because they're part of another Starship map already. Whilst this way, you're sort of you're basically making your own map around it. If you really want something that looks really like a sick bay, iconic as a sick bay, then go ahead and use those maps. It's possible to sort of modify existing maps to basically not look like what they originally did, if that makes sense. I'm sure someone else can put that in a better way than I can.
Yeah, pretty much you have just generic sick bays. You'll have a TOS sick bay, or you'll have a sick bay for the Defiant, Hippie John said. But the problem is, like for example, in my stories, I'm flying around in a Sovereign. Well, a sick bay for a Defiant won't make much sense for a Sovereign, nor a sick bay for the original series.
Well, that's when you make one from scratch.
Exactly.
think that's one thing everybody has done.
Yeah, they'll be...
Everybody's had to make a sick bay at one time or another, I think.
The only thing I can think of is you can cut off the sick bay from ESD and use that one as an easy workaround.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but even then you still have
the rest of the
floating
map.
about outside.
Right, yeah,
Exactly.
using that entire map just for that little room.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's go ahead and put a lid on it. So put a roof on it, which would be... I forget which one it is. Building block platform, 500 by 500, at an elevation of 3 meters.
Okay. Which one? 1, 2, or 3? Probably 3, huh? Or 2? 1 is no good.
Yeah, 1 is tan.
Yeah.
2
3 is good.
So yeah, that's why I go with 2.
3 is the darkest one.
Yeah.
It's got like a pattern in it. See, it's got the actual squares.
That's
2
why I
is
go.
You want to use number 3?
Or 2.
Oh, okay.
So I think
500 or just 100?
I don't think the 100 is big enough. It doesn't matter if it
Not
drapes
for the
up.
room, no.
So
Okay.
I go with the 500.
502.
Yep.
There it is. Bang. Covers everything.
Pixelations on the roof.
And as you can see, this is also a very hard way to deal with when you're creating custom maps because you can hardly see what you're doing. But yeah.
Yeah, you would have to throw this on last. This just,
A good way to, I'm, as an Australian, I know the metric system quite well. A good estimate thing is 3 meters is around 10 feet. So you can use that to do a whole lot of measurements.
Yeah, that doesn't really look like 10, does it? It looks more like 8.
Put it at 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Measurements in Foundry. It's not exactly
Yeah,
very.
there's nothing accurate about these measurements. So.
Yeah, the one thing should be mentioned when you're on these maps, you'll be able, if you put a ceiling over it, an artificial ceiling, unfortunately, due to the way the engine works, we'll be losing the light source from above, which is a little annoying, but sometimes it can add atmosphere.
Yeah. Well, that's why you
Yes.
also doors on the walls too. Plus, the sick bay. It's not supposed to be like incredibly bright. People are sleeping and, knocked out or sick or whatever. You don't want to be sleeping in the middle of a shopping mall.
I think you can also fix that by adjusting the atmosphere of the map overall. You can use that to brighten it up a little bit.
Yes, you're right.
So that's how you create a sick bay, basically. So basically what you would also do is add more rooms to the sick bay for more exam rooms or a surgical bay or whatever, like I did.
Okay.
So that's how you customize an interior map.
Awesome. Do we have any questions about ground and interior maps at all?
I think you should kill the DOFs.
Any questions from the floor? Or any
I would take
questions
that
or
as a no.
suggestions from... Yeah. Or any questions and suggestions from the rest of the panelists?
Sorry, go ahead.
I do have one thing that I did want to throw in, and it's something that Pendra mentioned in the chat also. On the left-hand side, when you look at your assets on the map, there's a corresponding number. And when you're looking at the two-dimensional view, the higher number are the items that actually go on top and cover everything. So if you have like a ceiling, for example, that's going to cover everything over, you can just delete an item that's in a lower number in the sequence, make that the ceiling, and then replace the item on top of it. And that way you can see what you're doing around the board.
Unfortunately, due to the bugs and stuff in the Foundry, that can be a bit of a hassle as well. If you go and you delete if you go back and you decide, no, I don't like this here, so I'll just take it out, and then you want to add something in elsewhere, but you've already put, say, a roof on top or anything, you put it in and you'll suddenly see, oh wait, that isn't on top of the table in the editor, that's below the table. I can't see that glass as an object. It's just a slight bug with the editor. It's a bit annoying, but hopefully one day we'll be able to change how it looks, how we view them anyway. So if that's everything.
One thing I did forget is on the ground maps, you need to make sure whenever you're building a building, like we just did, if you were to do it that way, that all of your objects are not by terrain, they're by geometry. Because otherwise they'll be at different heights from each other and you won't know why. It's because the ground is different heights.
That's actually something I think I'll probably explain that a little bit with my tutorial up next. But actually no, let's do that right now. We have this thing called y relative 2. So Paul, if you were to show us on the map, or you're already doing it, aren't you? So you're a step ahead. If you click on any object, put down something,
Well,
try putting down something.
But I'll throw something in there.
Yeah.
I'll put a building block column or something.
Mm-hmm. And you have these 4 different things, 4 different selections from y relative 2. You have, let me just make sure I've got this right. You have, no, that's the wrong map to be trying to do that off of.
I know.
If you can do
we'll make one.
No, just use that, sorry. Just use that one, it's fine. Just use any object.
Yeah, I already did it.
Yeah.
Is it
and
building block ramp?
Okay. Now if you click on the y relative 2 on that building block ramp, I'll wait for my stream to catch up.
Yes, I already did, but let me, there we go.
Yeah. So you'll see you have terrain, you have geometry, you have 0 altitude, and you have legacy terrain. And legacy geometry, of course. Terrain basically is, this determines what the 0 coordinate is when you're placing your height of your objects. If it's set to terrain on a ground map, it will basically stick to whatever is the 0 terrain. So if it's a hilly map and you place a column on top of a hill and it's set to 0 terrain, it'll basically be sitting on top of that hill. Then if you just drag that down and put it, say, in a valley or anything at the bottom of a valley, it will still appear, at 0. It will appear like it's standing on the ground. Now if it's set to 0 altitude, that's set to a flat height map across across all the map. So if you had it on the ground and it was set to 0 altitude, then if you, perhaps that might be that would probably be flat on the ground at the lowest altitude. However, if you were to then move that into to where the column was when it was on top of the hill, when we were using terrain, it would actually still be exactly the same height, so it would be underneath the hill. If you guys follow that. So you would have to set the hill, you would have to set it as perhaps plus 30, plus 40, however high the hill is, before it then came out of the geometry of the hill itself. Then we have geometry. Personally, I'm not overly familiar with that, just because I don't use it that much. So perhaps someone else would like to explain that better than I can.
Geometry is basically based on the actual just grid points within the game, within the engine, especially when it comes to Y. So at 3 meters, it's actually 3 meters, not 3 meters plus whatever it was. Or it's not 3 meters based on whatever object it is that you were originally dealing with. It's like creating a box wherever it is you're working. So let's say, for example, I have something 500 meters in the air based on geometry. Everything else will be based on the geometry, just based on ones and zeros. 0 being the ground.
So it's pretty much the same as relative to Y, but actually
Yes.
it's kind of it's an amalgamation of relative to Y and terrain at the same time. It's a little bit odd.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quick poll of the authors we have online at the moment. Which do you tend to use? So let's Baz first.
I probably use terrain a bit more, simply because I want to have things. Most of the time, I want to have things to sit on the map where the level is. But when I have done a number of times 0 level when I have done completely custom builds. It's almost a requirement to use the 0 altitude when you do that.
Mm-hmm. Bob, what about you?
Most of the time I use 0 altitude, mainly because I'm just anal about where I want stuff, and I have never found the terrain to be consistent enough, even on flat terrain, to really line stuff up. Even if you have a console sitting on terrain, you're going to have like part of it hanging off where that unexpectedly takes a dive that you didn't see until you place the console. And so I almost always use from 0 just because, from my point of view, it's just easier to make sure everything's lined up right.
Mm-hmm. Sky Dawn?
Oh, everything is 0 altitude. Absolutely. There's the only time I might use terrain is if it's a relatively flat surface and I'm just placing big objects. But even then, sometimes they'll sink in too far, or usually everything you want to do at around 0 altitude, especially if you're building anything custom above ground. That is definitely a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm. And Rick?
Well, I've been using geometry, but I think I'm going to be using 0 altitude. I think that might solve some of my problems I've been having. now that I think of it.
And finally, Paul, what do you use?
I'd use either 0 altitude or terrain, depending on what I'm dropping on the map. You're going to put an NPC down, you're going to just let them sit on terrain. But any kind of a structure, you have to set at 0.
Yeah.
Or else you're going crazy trying to line things up.
Myself, I use 0 altitude almost exclusively. The only time I'll use terrain is probably when if I'm placing down a tree or something like that. I'll just because it makes life easier. Or if you're just wanting to plonk something randomly in the middle of nowhere or quickly populate somewhere, generally I'll use terrain because I don't have to worry too much about making sure it's all above ground. But really, 0 altitude's the way to go for everything else, just because it lines up, it's linear across the board. You know that if something is at 1 unit high here, it will be exactly the same height, if something else is placed 1 unit high somewhere else. So yeah, I tend to use that exclusively.
It's also very important if you're making like a walkway or an elevated platform. The 0 terrain just makes it so much easier to line them all up.
Yes,
because if you were trying to do that with 0 to ground, you'll have your platforms all over the place, even if you're up in the air because of the way the terrain jumps up and down.
Yeah. You see here, the terrain is above zero.
Yeah.
I mean, below zero. The
Yeah.
zero altitude is actually above the ground on this map in some spots. That's why this ramp is sitting in the air.
Yeah. So it's all about
And
where zero's
that's
set.
why we do something like Star Trek, because we have things like where ramps can just float up in the air. Anti-grav for the win.
Yes, yeah.
Also put that ramp on the ground. You know, we don't know at what point of this ramp is where they're calculating the zero. And so, I mean, it could be terrain, it could be butted up against the ground on one side and floating on the other. And so it's just so hard to figure it out that I don't fool with it.
There are certainly a lot of things like wall paintings, wall hangings. They will, but almost always most of the wall paintings and decorations and things, they'll be below the zero altitude. So where they calculate their zero altitude point is usually at the top of the painting sometimes, which is really very silly. So you'll always have to raise it up a few before it's actually all visible. So yeah, every asset has a different zero point as such.
I noticed yesterday when I was building a map that the new, like the TOS monitor, it's already set to desk height.
Yes.
I automatically tried to adjust for it.
And then
it
you
was
realize
way
it
up
was
in the air
floating.
when I tested. I was like, whoa. Now,
Yeah.
see, this is at terrain level, and it's actually much lower than zero altitude.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sunk into the ground pretty good.
Interesting. So yeah, any further questions or comments from anyone else before we move on to my dreaded chapter?
Well, actually, you got space maps. You got the interesting one. You have a lot of stuff to do.
Oh, space is the easy one. What are you talking about?
Space is the easy one.
Right then, we'll move on.
Okay, then I'm going to delete.
And I'm totally prepared. Yeah.
Alright, so we're doing space maps now.
Indeed. So today I'm going to show you a little. We've got two types of space maps. So if you want to go and click on Create Map, by default it will be set to. It will bring up a space map, just because. Waiting for my stream to catch. There we go. Now we're going to start off with a custom map. Start off with that. So that's all preset. Basically, it's a big empty map that you can just add everything to. If we just put in, let's call this deep, or deep space. Let's call it deep space, and then we'll hit create. Now, what we're going to do is assemble a little space station, just in the middle of absolutely nowhere. When I say little, it's actually going to be a large space station, because if my motto is, if you're going to make a space station, you're going to make a blooming huge one. As anyone who's played my missions will know. So we'll start off by going actually, before we do anything else, let's go in and press play map, just to show people what you start off with in an empty map.
The vast reaches of deep space.
Indeed. Now we wait. So what did you have for breakfast this morning?
Well,
Coffee.
I
Bacon.
haven't had the chance to have breakfast this morning. I got up at 6:30 a.m. in the morning just for this.
Because you're dedicated.
Yeah.
Okay, so since we're on this map, you will see. Sorry, go ahead.
On a
Matt.
Sunday morning, no less.
Oh.
But anyway, yes.
As you can see, we are in the middle of space. There is absolutely nothing around us. It's quite dark. Although there's lots of stars. But anyway, very easy to get disorientated and lost. And that's one of the biggest problems in a space map is getting lost and disoriented. Yeah. So let's go back to the editor. Really what you need are landmarks. So we're going to start by building a whacking great big space station. Just because we can. To begin with, let's go into the Details tab. And we'll search for a satellite. And you're looking for Federation Large 03.
Okay.
And we'll drag that onto the map. And let's put it, right, I'm going to have to be precise about this because of what I'm going to try and do. So, set it to position 5.12613.
Alright, wait a minute.
This is where it gets complicated, folks.
What is it?
5.12613.
Okay.
Set the Y coordinate to be, let's say, actually leave the Y coordinate as 0.
Okay.
And then we'll set the final coordinate to, let's say 20. Actually,
Okay.
I'll make it much simpler. 5020. Much simpler.
Okay.
And now if we just move the spawn point a little bit closer so you're not having to fly through space quite so far. Because it takes time.
It does. Which can be useful.
Yes, it can be. As I'm hopefully going to demonstrate in a few minutes. So let's hit play map. We'll have a quick look.
So I had bacon and some biscuits with apple butter with a glass of orange juice, by the way.
Ooh,
I am jealous.
sounds good.
I'm very jealous.
I cooked it myself, so, I mean, don't
Oh, great. Somehow I've managed to step in blue tack. Which is interesting. So that is all over my slippers. Wonderful information that everyone needs to know, I'm sure. Oh, and the stream's catching up. So now you can see that we have this large space station. It's nice. I quite like this space station. But to me, it's not big enough. Do you want to go in for a little bit closer just to show them around it? Very briefly, anyway. Full impulse. It's got a lot of solar panels, so they must be very energy efficient, very green.
which
Yeah.
is important.
This is a
You have
federation.
antimatter reactors.
Everything's green, you know.
And lots of nice little stickers and lots of people. Wave at the people. Wave at the
Lots
people
of
in the window.
windows. Lots
Yeah.
of windows.
Hello, police. There's this ship flying around outside, kind of weird. I think he's drunk.
Yeah.
Indeed. So let's go back to the editor. And this is where the fun begins. So, what we're going to want is, if you go to, in the Details tab, Satellite Federation Small 03. And once you find that, drag that in. Actually, sorry, no, ignore that. We're not using that one at all. What am I talking about? We're not using that thing. We are going to use Satellite Federation Large 01, because I'm being awkward. And we'll drag that in, and we'll place it at, here's fun, minus 10.4042,
Okay.
0, and then 22.9684. So that should be over one of the prong arms of the space station.
A little, almost.
Yeah, it should be sort of on one of the corners of the of it.
No, it is not. It's not touching.
Isn't it?
No.
Can you zoom in just so that I can check?
Maybe it's the rotation we didn't check on the. Did you?
Oh,
have a specific rotation on the original one?
30.
30. See. Okay.
See, that's why I have you around.
Yeah. Now it's touching. You want
Right,
to go look?
perfect. No, that's fine. Then we're going to add, so that we can get away without having too much small talk, because I don't think I can take any more of that delicious breakfast that Bob had. Let's
Sir,
add...
can we just have a quick break for a question from the chat room?
Sure.
Can we rotate from the view we have here without actually entering it into the
Yes.
to the deck box?
Yes, you can. If you were to click on the asset,
Let me.
you'll see these little grab handles appear around it.
Could we just zoom in a bit so we can? Yeah.
Yeah. Take the camera in, my friend. Take it in. Closer. Closer. And you'll see these little grab handles appear around it. If you move your mouse just to the side of that little sort of pin cushion, you'll be able to sort of click and drag and twist it around to your heart's content. So let's set it back to 30. Now we're going to add a Satellite Federation Large 02. And we're going to place it, just so that I get this right. Bear with me 2 seconds. We're going to place it, okay, at 10.794. 0, actually no, make that 2, then 32.0983.
Okay, again, 32.
.0983.
83.
Yeah. And then we're just going to add one more little satellite because, well, I say little. We're going to add another large. Satellite Federation Large 03. And make sure I get this one right. We're going to line it up. Sorry, actually, we're going to add 2 more satellites. Just because I feel like it now. We're going to place it at 29.295 0 20.438. And the final, and rotation set to -15. And then the final satellite we shall add is going to be, Federation Small 03. And we're going to place that at the junction there, so that's going to be roughly 16.5419 0 and then 11.6479. And then we'll preview that.
And while this is loading, right now we're not allowed to import maps from other players. But if you're wanting to like create like a series and wanting to use the same map, this is sort of the method that you sort of have to use. You just sort of tell whoever you're working with what object it is and what the coordinates are. And if you do that, you can completely duplicate a map from another person,
Yeah.
at least until they give us the ability to import somebody else's map. You can import your own, but not anybody else's.
Yeah. It is possible to export a map file, which will basically give you a list of all the assets that are used, as well as all the coordinates that that are in there. So all the coordinates of the whatever the word is, of the assets that are in there. They will be off because they're in, what is it? They're in one form and we have to input them in another, and I forget which way around it is. I think it's in metric and you have to change it into imperial. Not quite sure. But yeah, to do that, you would simply in the chat type, actually, let's not go over that right now. We can do that later, just because of time. But yeah, if you're flying around the map, oh, that's actually off. That's interesting. Very interesting. Can you fly to where the space station should be joining up, please? Yeah, that big one, the two big ones. And on the stream, it appears that, indeed, that's really peculiar. Something must have changed about those assets then. I feel terrible now. I should have checked this up beforehand. But the idea is that they should actually join together.
So
that's a bug.
Complete circle.
Yeah, that's a bug, and I'm annoyed by that.
Well, let's go back to the editor, I think, see if we get the coordinates correct.
No, you did, because I'm looking at my screen, and it's exactly the same.
Oh, I see.
So, Foundry has a boo-boo. But that doesn't matter, because the general idea is there. I think the issue is the icons that they're using, they're wrong, basically. But that's fine. It will be sorted at some point, I'm sure. We'll bug report it. Right. So, generally you get the idea. You have a space station there. Now I'm just going to show you a little bit of an effect, some of the effects that we have in space, by showing you how to make a transwarp portal. Which is a lot easier than it sounds. You don't even have to know how transwarp portals work. You don't need a physics degree. Nothing. It's simple. So let's search for, in the details, transwarp. And you'll be presented with two options. You'll have transwarp conduit 01 and transwarp conduit 02. If you look at the, do you want to just type it into the search bar?
Oh, I got it.
Alright. My stream's still way back. One of them, transwarp conduit 01 is flat and dead on the surface, which can actually be very useful. I've seen people make, I think it was Duke of Rock who created Midas Array.
The Midas Array, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Using that. And it looks really effective. You just link them up because they're just simple shapes. They're hexagons. Yeah, I got that right? Yeah. You just lie them down and they'll link up when you touch corners. It looks good. It looks very good. But what we'll be using is transwarp conduit 02. So let's just drag that onto the map. And put it say, -16, and 0 and 3. Keep it fairly close. Then we're going to look, if you go into the details tab and you look where it says type, you can then select various different types of objects, of assets that you can place. So we're going to go down to effects, and then we'll look for FX Portal Borg. So that's a Borg transwarp conduit. So we place that in, and let's just roughly drop it where the the transport portal is. So that's minus 16 and 3. And hopefully this works. Let's put a little rotation on the both of them. So let's say for the portal, we'll say it's at a rotation of 60. And for the conduit, we'll say a rotation of minus 120. Or actually, it could be 60 as well. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, either way. And then let's just take a quick preview of the map. And hopefully, if we get this right first time, we'll have a transport conduit. Which is awesome. So, what did you have for lunch, Bob?
I made some macaroni and cheese, but that was about the extent of it. That and some Pepsi Max. I don't know what I'm doing for dinner yet, though.
Food. It's delicious. Right, so we're in, and actually, hang on, did we get that right first time? I think we did. Oh my gosh. I am one happy little doggy. Well, it's kind of right. It's sort of right. Yeah.
Sort of right is wrong according to how I build.
Yeah, it is for me too, but for what I'm showing today, it's right.
But it does look good. It's a neat effect. It may be a little bit in front of it, though.
Yeah, it needs to be the effect
from the other side.
Yeah, the effect
needs
needs
the wrong side of it.
Yeah, the effect needs to be placed actually just slightly ahead of the portal, so that it looks like it's sort of being sucked through.
From this angle, it does look good, though.
Yeah, yeah.
We were in the back of it.
And that's one of the things about the Foundry, actually, and a lot of the assets is it's very directional. In fact, a lot of the assets that we have these days are they're blank from one side, so that they're just untextured from some sides of it, which is just a saving time and save your computer processing it all. I would give one bit of advice when working with portal effects, especially. Don't fill your map with them. It probably sounds pretty straightforward, but don't. Never. Because you'll melt down someone's computer. And then you will get 1-star reviews. And then nobody will play your missions.
See, that would have been a great point whenever you were in the middle of that portal to hit the return to editor real quick. That'd have been, been a great trailer for the Foundry thing.
It's very true. Very true.
We can do that again.
Right.
My full impulse isn't very full. How slow.
You're in a small ship. It's fine. So now, we're gonna go back to the editor when Paul's finished flying around and having fun.
Well, I wanted to do it.
We can do it later. Then we, now we're going to have a little look at backdrops. You've had a little look at them in ground maps, and you've heard a bit talked about them in interior maps, but in space maps, this is where they really come into their own. So just let me know when you get back to it. There we go. You're back at the editor. So if you just click off of all your objects, so click anywhere else free in the map, and then click backdrop, which is on the bottom little tab. Now, it should have backdrop template as stars only 01. So let's just click on that. That's your bog standard. Here are stars. This is blank space. Yeah. If you then have a look through all these different backdrops, we have everything from the Sol system. So, you'll be able to see the sun, you'll be able to have that little bit of a, Milky Way look, all the way through to the Siberian system, which, okay, it's only 2 away in the list, but it's a big it's a big Borg-looking map. You have things like red space, which is you have orange space 01 through to orange space 15. Same with purple and red and all that jazz. They really are pretty much what they say on the tin. They're red, they're orange, they're purple. Just various different variations of it. In fact, I haven't seen that one before. We're going to use red space 10. Just to have a look at to begin with. So, if you've selected red space 10, and then hit play map, you should almost instantly see quite a big difference. Can you have a map for all lens flares? If only. If only we could.
Yeah, which is why I keep those turned off in the video settings.
I quite like them. I'm one of the few people that does.
Yeah, the only place they work is really when you're flying towards a star.
Yeah. Right. And there, as you can see, we have this... Oh, I can hear myself. Rick, is that coming from you?
I don't think so. I know I have it unmuted. Or I have it muted on the live stream.
No, it's coming through someone's speakers.
Shouldn't be.
Who has speakers on? It's gone now. Anyway, whatever. Sorry about this interruption. You'll be able to see you've got this lovely red, deep red, backdrop over there, with some little, green flecks coming out of it. And actually, if you look at, if you were to go back round behind the transwarp conduits, and then have a look through, the red and the green just clash so beautifully. It just looks absolutely gorgeous. You can really play with colours when it comes to space maps, and that's one of my favourite things to do. I'll spend hours just playing with the background settings and making things look just right. Now, if we return to the editor, and we go back to backdrop template, and we'll go back to stars only 01. It'll be nice and boring. I'll just wait there we go. And then we go to customize. You'll see a lot of numbers and boxes and things just appear out of absolutely nowhere. This is actually a lot simpler than you think. So you see where it says, sky layers, and then you see sky layer 1. You'll just see that we have stars number 1 in there. And if you were to click on that, you would take into a choose sky box, and you'll see in the little, the preview of it, it's stars. That's what you're seeing. There's nothing special about that particularly. So let's just go back out of that and cancel that. But let's add a new sky layer. Now, when you click new sky layer, you'll get another sky layer added. But that will be on top of what's already there. You can't drag them about into different orders. You sort of just have to plan out or delete one and then put in another and sort of work it around that way. But basically the idea with this is to build up lots and lots of little sky layers. So whether it be red nebulas then you have a big fluidic effect with a supernova off in one corner and something else off somewhere else. You can make up some really crazy and amazing looking things. So if we click to select sky, and we're going to select, let's have a look, blue lightning as the first one.
Good choice. Just used that yesterday.
And then we're going to add another one. And we're going to place down galaxy. Now, if we play the map, just to preview it.
You only get a total of 4.
Is it 4? I thought it was...
Yes. No.
Right. I thought it was up to 5.
Nope.
Ah, damn. Oh well. We'll have to make them count. Excuse me.
Just a little behind the scenes. Whenever you're done, save this map for whenever we get to the dialogue. There's no sense in you recreating the wheel.
Yeah, that's true. Just keep it there.
Oh, look.
I'm waiting for mine to load myself. Oh, that came out beautifully. Although I will, what I would prefer to do is, I tend to try and mix my palette as such, so that any big stark things, for instance, that galaxy looks just a bit too bright. It looks a bit too stark where it is. I'd like to put something else on top of that. Also, if you notice in the left-hand side or port of the galaxy, you'll see a little sun. And that just looks wrong where it is. So let's just go back and let's change things around just a little bit. We're going to delete the stars number 1. So you'll just hit that little remove this sky effect layer, and that'll take it out of circulation. And we're going to add another one. Now let's see, what would go nicely and sort of cover it up? Ooh, yes. Cutscene, I think. It's an interesting one. So if we select cutscene and click OK, now, down below that, you can see you'll see something called distant objects. Now this basically is a sun, or suns and things like that. Stars. It's a better way of putting it, but in your system. Now these can cast light, and this is where it gets a little bit trickier. So we saw that sun, and to me, it didn't look right where it was because the galaxy was right behind it. So we're gonna move that. And you have, two things to change that. This is where I fall down, because I always forget which way around it is for altitude and azimuth.
Altitude is height, azimuth is compass direction.
Yeah. Even though it talks about the azimuth being around the up axis, that's what always throws me. I'm like, wait, but what? It's just a written thing. So let's change that azimuth to be minus 90. So now it should be to the literally 90 degrees from where it was before, because both of these are in degrees. And actually, let's set that altitude to be, that's in degrees too. Let's make that, I don't know, plus 45. So now it should be off to the left, or off to the north, east, perhaps? Something like that. No, northwest, sorry. And also up. Finally, you have this distance thing, which basically means you can set set it to appear as though it's closer or further away. I generally don't move that, but you can do.
You can't much, though. I think minimum, the closest it can be is 10,000.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And then the max is something like 30, or something like that. But to me, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference. I suppose it would if you're making something in depths of space. Now, the next thing that we'll look at is geometry. Now, this basically just means, are you going to be able to see this light source, or are you not? If you uncheck that, you'll see that the geometry, the sun disappears. But the light stays. And this is where it becomes really interesting. When you look at light, you can decide whether it's going to cast any light or not. And also whether it will cast shadows on the ship. So let's make sure both of those are checked. So light and cast shadows. Now I've just mucked it up on my screen because I decided I was going to delete. I was going to take it off, and then I just came up with all black colors. But that doesn't matter. This basically is where this is the color of light this it emits, and I'm not overly familiar with the specular or the ambient functions, but generally,
specular is what you see in the shadow.
Yeah, that would make sense. And ambient, I assume that's just what goes across. That's sort of like a diffuse across everything. A light color. I'm not entirely sure. Can anyone verify that?
Well, I know I've changed it and never have seen much of a difference.
I've never messed with the suns other than where they're located and the overall color of the sun. I generally don't mess with the rest of this stuff if I put a sun in at all.
Oh, those things will make a huge difference. I've made it white, white, red, white, or white, white, red, yellow. And trust me when I tell you, when you do that, it gets really bright. I was actually able to make a star out of a J-type planet before doing that.
Yeah. It's it can give you some pretty amazing effects. So let's change color 1. Let's make that. Ooh. Let's go for a little of a Borgy feel. So let's go for a dark green. And when you click on those colors, you'll come up with a color palette, where you can mess around. You can enter direct RGB values, which is kind of cool. It's a nice little thing to be able to do. But you can also just sort of click around that color ratio, around the color palette, and just choose something. So let's go for a nice dark green. Color 2, let's offset that. Let's make it, do you know what? I'm going to say dark purple. Or purple. And the shadows, let's set that sort of a dark green as well. And ambient, set it to whatever the hell you like. Let's stick with the theme. Let's go green. Now, that doesn't make much sense coming from a red sun. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take away that sun. And actually, sorry, we're not going to take it away. We're just going to click on it. Sorry, and we're going to change it. And you get these, when you open that up, you get these lovely pictures of what these suns look like. And actually, some of them look absolutely gorgeous. Well, kind of. In a weird sort of way. So let's look for one. Let's say, ooh, that looks lovely and broody. The dark red sun medium one. But let's not go for that because that still doesn't make much sense. Let's go for dark blue sun large 01. That probably makes sense. Ish, maybe. Let's see. Let's go for that. And then, let's play this map and see what happens.
See what masterpiece you've created.
Oh yes, it's going to be gloriously horrid.
Yes, I was going to say something like that, but we'll see how it turns out, shall we?
Should be some interesting colors for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting to see how this looks.
We'll make greatest maps by going this route and just randomly throwing in stuff that really shouldn't work.
Hey, where's that sun? I don't see it unless it's on the other side of this.
Oh no, I see it. It's
45 degrees up.
Yeah, it's sort of directly above the
There it is.
Yeah, look in the east. And I have to say, actually, this looks kind of cool. I'm just saying, it looks kind of cool.
I'm gonna be quite honest with you, I can't tell any difference, so.
Well, I like the way the blue and the red kind of.
Yeah.
But I can't tell any difference with the ambient light, whether it's making a difference because of the blue and the red sort of bleeding it out a bit.
I think it's only bright spectral colors that'll change the ambience of the map.
Yeah. It's a little odd that I'm actually quite surprised that we aren't seeing more green around.
No.
That is very, very peculiar.
Yeah, in order for it to work right, it has to be like a bright green coming out of a white star.
Yeah, it shouldn't actually make any difference coming out of a star.
In the bottom, the specular should be purple. We should be seeing the bottom of the ship all purple.
Yeah. Oh well, Foundry bugs. There's another one we've found.
Gotta love them.
Oh yeah, you better love them. But you get the idea of what it should do. I suppose it is slightly greener. Yeah, maybe. There's one other thing we're going to
well, there's the other issue is there's hardly anything for it to reflect off of. If you had a planet in there, you would see it a lot more.
Yes, you're probably right, actually. You're probably right. We're going to show one more thing with a backdrop, and then we're going to do a couple more cool, well, just one or two more little cool things that you can do with objects, and then we'll call it a day on the space maps, because we've spent far too much time already, unless you guys are enjoying it. Let me know if you're enjoying it, please, because yeah. So let's go back.
Well, I want my dialogue portion to be done before my baked potato gets here. So
oh, that's right. Let's do the dialogue portion.
We'll get there as soon as possible. I'll just be 5 more minutes then. So let's go back to the editor, and we'll add one more sky layer. And this is where it gets kind of cool. We're going to add fluidic scattering effect, and I really like that. And you'll see what it does in a few moments. What we're also then going to go for at the same time in details is in effects. If you scroll down, you'll see FX fluidic space, and we'll just drop that anywhere in the chat. Sorry, not anywhere in the chat. Anywhere else. Then I'm just going to show one little cool-ish thing at the same time. If we go and we put the spawn point, say, in the bottom left-hand corner, and rotate it so it's facing the left-hand side, we're going to try and do something a little cool here, and very quickly, very roughly.
Bottom left-hand corner?
Bottom right-hand corner, sorry.
Okay. In facing what direction?
Towards the left.
Oh, okay. It's easy.
Right. And then let's go to planets. And we're going to place in just the very first one, planet class D01. Nice dead planet. Although actually it looks like it has an atmosphere, which is very odd. But we're going to place that in the bottom left-hand corner. Right in the very left. Now we're going to take... Let's go to the Special tab. And we're going to add in a place marker. Now, drag that place marker and set it to be 40 maybe? No. Actually, yeah, 40. Nice and big. And place it perhaps one large grid away from the edge of the planet. And so set everything else to be 0. Set the height to be 0.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. We're doing things that tend to be classed as triggers, and this is sort of a slightly more advanced form of trigger, but hopefully it will all work out fine. Now, in effects, veterans should know what I'm looking for, roughly. Sorry, it's actually in weather effects. So if you go to back to the details, and you go to the type, change that to weather effects. And we're going to look for weather star streaks. And we're going to be playing with West East 01, at least to begin with. Now, if we just place that in anywhere on the map, actually, sorry, place that in sort of as two blocks. No, one large block away from where the spawn point is. Now, let's see how this goes. We're going to go to the States tab, which we haven't really talked about much. And this is where you can pull off some absolutely amazing tricks and wizardry, and this is where all the optional objectives and that sort of stuff comes from. And most of that will be talked about at the next event, but we'll slip a little bit in here. So as you can see, you have these three big headings: initial state, hidden, state, visible, and then state, hidden. So it's simpler than it looks to begin with. It should by default be set to hidden to visible when immediately. So immediately upon loading into that map, it's going to be visible, which is fine. That's what we want it to be at the moment. And then visible to hidden, this is what we want to change. So if you click on that little box that currently says never, and we're going to select, you'll see there's a lot of things that pop up, and we'll cover that all in time. Not right today because we don't really have time, but we'll cover it next time. And let's go to component reached. Then it'll ask us to select an object. If you click on that little box there, it will bring up two different things. We'll have that planet as a reach marker and the place marker that we also placed. So let's click on the place marker and then click on OK. Now, what should happen is when we preview the map, but we're not going to do that just yet, when we reach that reach marker, the star streaking effects should all just disappear.
Oh, okay.
But now what?
I'll fix that. Never mind.
Oh, what did you do?
I had the wrong object. I had the planet.
The planet was going to disappear as if there was a Death Star behind it.
Right. But I got you.
Oh, that would be nice. We have to do that at some point. But yeah, we will be messing with the planet second, Paul.
Okay, here we go. All set.
We also that the reach marker has a radius. It's still at 0.
Is
it? Yeah. That
should
be
say 45 or 40.
That's a 40.
Right.
Now, we're just going to copy this weather effect star streak a couple of times. So just hit the duplicate currently selected object, and let's make 4 of them. Now, the beauty of setting up the triggers beforehand on the object before you copy it means that you then don't have to set up the triggers on it afterwards, which is really nice, really handy. It makes things a lot quicker and generally your life a lot less hassle. So you can confirm if you go to the States tab, you'll see it's all been copied across all 4 objects. Now we're going to line those up roughly 1 big grid space apart from each other between the player spawn point and the planet. Or at least just a space. Perhaps it's actually probably more like half a space. I don't know. Just equidistant spaces between the player and the
reach marker.
Yeah, and the reach marker. Okay. Now we go to the planet. If we select the planet, we will go to States. And in States, we're going to change the initial state from hidden to visible when that's going to be when we reach the marker. So we're going to go to component reached, and we're going to select the object, and we're going to make that the place marker. So now what should happen, if you have been following along at home, kids, is when you're heading along the along this warp trail, once you reach the place marker, the warp effects should disappear and the planet should appear, as though you're sort of dropping out of warp. One final thing I think we'll do, just to throw them all off a little bit, is add in another effect, and that's going to be the. So if we go back to the details and go to the effects type, and then scroll down, we'll go to static interference 01. And we'll just drop that just at the edge of the reach marker. And these are various volumes that you'll, sort of large volumes of space that you'll be able to place. And we'll see what that does. Now let's change the state of that to exactly the same as the planet. So it will be hidden and then it will be visible upon reaching the place marker. The very last thing we do before we go and preview this map is we're going to click on the planet again, and on the General tab, we're going to click to select ring, and basically that's exactly what it says in the tin. You get to select a ring for that planet. So let's just say brown middle, because green middle 01, because I want to be different. Green middle 01. And that'll create a ring around the planet. You won't be able to see in this Foundry, in the editor view, but it'll be apparent when you get there. So now, hopefully if this all works, let's click play map. And yeah, let's see how this goes. I'm filled with confidence, as you can tell. Confidence in my own abilities.
Until you see us warping backwards as soon as we load.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. Something's gonna be wrong.
Nothing goes wrong in Foundry.
Said nobody ever. I'm amazed. We've still got 22 viewers. Oh, no. We've got 21 viewers. That just changed as I watched. And yes, it worked! So far, anyway. As you can see, you have this warp effect. And as we fly very fast... please work. I'm waiting anxiously on the stream.
Well, it did.
It worked.
Yes! So you reach the marker, you drop out of warp, the planet appears, and suddenly you are covered in static interference.
But why? What's going on?
You'll have to find out. Ooh.
Hopefully somebody will tell you very soon.
Da, da, da.
One word of advice, don't use this too much because it pisses people off a lot.
Yeah.
And
you have no shields and no full impulse.
Yes. If you put a battle in the middle of this, if you put a battle in this when you're in when you're in nebula effect, static interference effect, you have no shields, you have no full impulse, you have no mini map.
You have no ratings.
You have no ratings. No, you have ratings. They're just all 0.
They just roll 1 stars.
Yep.
You have no tips.
Past that static interference, you'll be able to see it better. But if you look at your warp trail, you'll see that now it looks like you're actually passing through fluid. And actually, if you look around your vessel, you'll see these little spots flying about, and that's the fluid effect taking. Sort of having an effect as such, which can be really nice. And in one of the recent spotlights, it was used to make it seem like you were inside a human body. Well, a body of some kind, which is a very cool little thing. And the fluid space effect has also been applied to the backdrop. You can't see it. Well, you can see it quite well, I think. To the sky file, so it's just sort of numbs it all and makes it seem a bit more fluidy. That's a word, fluidy. And yeah, I think
Well, it is now.
It's a word now, yeah. It's my word. I made it. Me.
Ooh, that's nice and red. Look at that.
Oh, that is gorgeous. That is. See, I'm a genius. I am a genius. I just didn't know. You didn't have faith in me, any of you. I know it. But you do now. Possibly. I don't.
How many bottles of pear cider have you had?
None. This is all on. Right. There is just the very last thing to show, and that is the NPC groups. So if we go back to the editor, we'll just shoot through this extremely quickly. Like, very quickly. I promise. Very quickly. So if you click on the tab NPC groups, you will see all these groups that you have at your disposal. There's a little allegiance thing where you can say you only want friendly, or you want enemy, or you want neutral. Actually, there aren't any neutral mobs in space, but hey-ho. Maybe one day we will. And you'll see all of these groups. It starts with the Borg. It's all alphabetical. If you click on them, you'll be able to see a little description of them and roughly how they are placed. So if you click on Borg Battleship 01, the very first one, immediately you see orange text saying, map will be restricted to levels 41 and above. So that basically means that sort of explains the project level that you saw back in the project tab to begin with. So if you were to place the Borg in this map, no player that was under level 41 would be able to play this mission. It's not so much of a hassle these days, but sometimes it gates people. So, yeah. It's weird. Anyway, the general idea, you place a ship, you drag them in, you place them down, that's your NPCs. You have a squadron, and if you read the description, it will say this. A Borg squadron is mostly composed of battleship-class ships, scales from one battleship up to a battleship and a dreadnought. It also will spawn various different points. It will spawn other ships, so a cruiser here and there, and various support ships. Basically what this means is if you go in and play it as a team, the more players that you have in your team when you enter this map, the more the more difficult and the heavier the class of ship that will spawn, if that makes sense. So if you were then if you were to look at Borg Squadron Weak 01, you would see a Borg Squadron that is weak, uses sparingly as it makes for a dull experience when overused. Kind of. I just ignore that. It will go from 2 frigates up to 4 frigates, 2 battle. So as you can see, very quickly they spawn out higher. And really, I think that's just about it. At least for the basic stuff. When we looking at behaviors, that's something we'll talk about next week. Just because it's more advanced and it'll let you experiment a bit yourselves beforehand. So, unless you have questions, anybody, or anything else, or anyone on the panel, do you have anything to add when it's space?
No, I think you covered it.
Just one thing.
I suppose there is just one quick thing. The Y coordinates, we've mostly been putting things at 0 coordinates. But it's also good to have a bit of variety in that as well, because space is 3-dimensional, and it just, I think it just improves the immersion a bit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's something I actually had on my notes, but I neglected to say for some very silly reason. All space maps, they can be made really interesting. They can be a bit dull. That's it. I almost never place any object on the same Y coordinate as the spawn point is. Especially if you're placing a planet or something. It's much nicer if you have to go down to it or go up to it or do something like that. However, one thing to be aware of can become difficult to find various things around the place. So be sure to sort of drop a beacon or something like that there. And again, we'll show that next week. Are there any questions from the chat? Or anything from anyone else in the room?
I guess the only advice I would give when it comes to making maps is don't make them cluttered. You know, especially like a lot of the cryptic maps, the older cryptic maps used to be, with tons of rocks and debris and everything getting in the way, and then there's a planet. Because a lot of your smarter players will kind of figure out, hey, that doesn't make any sense. That that collection of rocks should have crashed into that planet millions of years ago.
Yes. Yeah, actually, I think that was one of my reviews once. They said that asteroid is far too close to that planet.
Yeah, oh, no, yeah, and you get people who complain about moons all the time, so...
Yes, very true. Never have your moons too close, and never... A big piece of advice, never make your moons the same size as the planet they're orbiting.
Unless you're orbiting a gas giant, then it's fine.
That's true. That's very true. I just
or you
realized...
put up a giant invisible wall to keep them away from it.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep you here. There's one thing I did forget to talk about very briefly. If you go to create a map again, and you're still in space, you have all these pre-made maps. And they're literally, what they say on the tin, they're pre-made maps. You have things like the Briar Patch, which I absolutely adore that map. I use it for a fair few things. You have Sol System, so you have Space Dock, Sierra Outpost, the Trimble System, loads of different places. You have Jupiter, Uranus. Sorry, I had to say it. Vulcan. Everything. Wow, not even a giggle. I'm so ashamed of you all. There we go.
Well, you told us to mute it when we're not talking.
Damn. I'll repeat it. You have Uranus. We got it. We got the giggle. It's getting to that time of night, folks. And then you can't edit anything that's already on that map, but you can go ahead and place anything. So if you want to use Venus or you want to use Jupiter or anything like that, you just go ahead, you open that map, you give it a name, and you place everything to your heart's content. It can be very useful, especially if you're doing something that's related to an already existing story. So yeah, I think that's everything on space maps.
I was going to throw in one suggestion, if I may.
Yeah.
Something that on space maps, which is we brought up the whole building a three-dimensional map. Place markers, which is something that we just went over. They are two-dimensional. So whenever you put down a place marker, make sure it's somewhere where the player actually knows where the height of it may be or might be, because flying around space looking for a two-dimensional spot can be very annoying.
What I do is I put beacons in the middle of them at the same altitude, and as soon as you reach it, I make the beacon go away. And so I have them go visible when you get to when that objective is in progress, and then make the beacon disappear as soon as objective is complete. That's how I get around the whole two-dimensional place marker thing.
They're more spheres, but you do really have to be careful with placement because when they go, you might be at the right spot. You might see you're at the right spot in the map, but you're just at the wrong height, and it can be quite frustrating.
Yeah, I could have sworn they were three-dimensional spheres, but I could be wrong. I've never really properly experimented with that, but I thought they were. Again, something you can experiment with, folks. So, yeah, I think we're done then, if no one else has anything. And we finally get to move on to... You ready for this one? Dialogue. Commodore Bob, take it away.
All right, head back over to the map tab, get rid of the static, and then drop me an NPC ship. I don't care of what kind, as long as it's something we can talk to.
Okay. Oh, you just want to contact
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's just any NPC contact.
All right.
Not an NPC squadron, because I don't want them shooting at us when we arrive.
No, Cardassian battleship.
Yeah. All right. All right, then head up to the the story tab. I got the watermark over it. I can't read the tabs from here. And I guess go ahead and set it up so that we can drop some dialogue into this map.
Okay. Let's dialogue with contact.
I have to say, I'm always intrigued. I love doing this sort of thing because I get to see how other authors set things up yourselves. And it's interesting to see the slight differences as well, which is always nice. And we get to hear small children in the background too, which is always entertaining.
Okay, my stream tanked, and so I'm waiting for it to come back. It's interesting.
Is it not coming back, or?
I've got a black screen.
Does everyone?
My computer died on me, so I'm gonna have to relog in.
No,
and check.
I can see it in my preview,
I can still see.
and it says it's still streaming.
All right, let me just close out Firefox. Maybe I had a cache error.
Yeah, maybe just refresh.
Still not coming up?
Hang on a second. I've got it rebooting.
I'd like to take this opportunity
Well,
before we...
Bob, I may have to jump over to i10 and see if I can get it to run it.
Oh gosh. See, that's why I should be using Chrome.
Oh no, wait.
I'd like to take this opportunity whilst just waiting for things to thank everyone who's stuck around. We've hung around about 21, 22 people since the beginning, so thank you very much to everyone who's sticking around, and I hope that you've learnt something from this so far.
Oh no, don't tell me.
What?
I'm looking at my net. I have this feeling that my internet's about to tank, so if I get hung up on, I'll be back as soon as it comes back.
Okay. Well, we'll always be able to
I'm just seeing indicators around the house of impending disconnects.
Ah. Paul's having fun with typing in.
I'm just filling
various
things
things
in so that we don't get the orange triangle.
The
I
orange
also
triangle of doom.
Go to the mission door too, so I'll just get there. Because we've just been playing through maps. We haven't really started from the beginning and picked the door, gone through the door and into the mission yet.
Yes, that's very
Which
true.
is something we should show. The way we set it up. Let me get to Earth Space Dock. Which is just a transwarp away. Oh, I'm already there. I didn't realize that. So good.
Yay!
And when you do previews like this, and you do do go into social zone, it's basically a social zone of one. You're going to be the only one in there. It's not connected to. Yeah.
And you can always run around and kill Quinn.
Well, we could do that in the meantime.
How's your internet doing, Bob? Bob? I have a feeling we may have lost... Oh, there he is. Thank you for bearing with us.
Y'all keep talking.
Okay.
See, I went in the office, killed Admiral Quinn, and the security guards didn't even stop me on the way out.
Okay, I'm going to reset my router, so I'm going to drop off here because I am getting the packets in like very little chunks.
Right, we'll move on then, and we'll let Skydawn do costumes whilst you're away then.
That's right. Go ahead.
Hope to see you back again shortly, Bob.
I was just busy watching Captain turn this into a J.J. Abrams movie.
See, I'm going to have to be very odd about what I'm going to have to say about the next J.J. film, because it's British power for the win, man. Yeah, at least to begin with.
Have you seen the new...
Oh, yes.
The international... I haven't watched it yet.
It gives the entire plot away.
Oh, I'm going to have to look.
Seriously. Almost the entire plot is just given away in that.
I have tickets for the sneak preview on the 15th.
But we get it before you.
When?
We get it like a week before you guys.
Really?
Yeah, which is amazing.
Well, you better not talk about it.
I'm gonna spread the word like wildfire.
Yeah. I won't go in the chat for a week. I don't get closer than that.
Okay, let's since Bob's away resetting, shall we go back into the editor and let Skydawn go on with costumes?
Okay. Costumes is actually probably my favorite part of the Foundry. It allows you to give pretty much as much personality as possible to your story. The first thing to understand about costumes is that they are just that. Everything that you put on the screen, be it a contact, an enemy, anything living that's going on the screen, to use old RPG terminology, is kind of like an angry bag. It's really just a representation on the map that has skills. As soon as you put a Klingon mob down on the map, it's just an angry bag of stuff that acts like Klingons. You can put whatever you want over it, just like any contact. So to do that, use costumes. We'll go to, you're already on the costume tab, and we'll go to create a costume. And we'll start out with a space costume, and we'll call it, Mothership, if you like.
Oops. All right. Wait a minute.
All righty.
I'm tired myself. I've had a heck of a day here.
I am actually going to create a character, a ground NPC now named Mothership.
Okay.
All right. The first thing you start out with when you're making a space costume is, the first thing you want to do is select your ship class, which is the pull-down menu on the right there. Just to let everyone know, anyone who's customized their character to tailor or who's customized their starship pretty much already knows what the majority of these options are. It's just that in the Foundry, it allows you to pick, most of the types of ships that are available and customize them as you like. So we'll go, in this case, if we made something like a mothership, we'll take the Garamba Siege Destroyer. just pick either mode. That's fine. And wow, look at that thing.
Looks like me on a bad hair day.
Just like everything else, as far as the ships are concerned, you can change the different types of you can change the hull, you can change the neck, well in this case the stanchion, and it'll give you all the different color types. Well, here as Nausicaan ships, I guess Nausicans aren't exactly very creative, so they're all pretty much the same shape. But you do get things like different colors, different windows, and the like. Now, something that's now let's go and let's change the ship class to something a little more versatile. Like let's go with a Federation starship. Head over to. Whoa. And just pick any, like the sub class. There you go.
Oh, that's a beautiful ship, no matter what she looks like.
Yes, that it is. And you can change around the nacelles, the neck, basically make your own, model starship, and name it the USS Your Ship, or the like. And that's pretty much it for space. As far as that, the starship customization, because there are a limited number of ships, and they're limited to the different types. The same, I should say, modifications that you can make in game. That's pretty much what you have available here. Now the ground characters, they're a little bit different, a bit more complex actually. So what we'll do is we'll go and we will make a create costume again, and there are two different types of. We'll name this one. So name it Mother. That's fine. We'll name it after the computer and aliens. Now, ground characters, or should I say ground costumes, there are two different forms that you can make. Either, obviously, other than male and female, there are Starfleet costumes and there are Klingon costumes, which is started by your allegiance there. Both of these have two completely different sets of menus once you get to the actual uniforms, the upper body and the lower body. Just like in game, when you go to the tailor, a Starfleet character can't, adopt a Klingon battle armor, for example. So that's what those two selection tabs are for. What I want to point out before we continue is that these are just costumes, which means that even it has nothing to do with the actual allegiance of what you're putting on the screen. If you put a contact on the screen that is supposed to be an enemy, you can still skin it over with whatever costume you like. All right. So what we'll do here is we'll randomize it. So just go down to randomize all. We'll just create a random Starfleet costume.
It's always fun to see what they come up with this one.
Yeah. And, oh, look, we have a TOS character. With a tattoo. I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, on her neck.
And with a gamer's body.
From Enterprise yet.
No. I'm not going to go too much into detail as far as tailoring a costume. I'm pretty sure anybody that's tailored their character or their boss have done so already. So it's not like something anybody doesn't know.
That's a really interesting amalgamation that is created there, just saying.
It is very interesting, I have to admit.
It's not very high.
No, I suppose not.
That was
That was my son. He went to go get me another coffee. And he said
All right, now take take this costume that you have and switch the allegiance from Starfleet to Klingon, and you'll see all of the options change. There you go. Now all of a sudden you have different species that you can pick. You know, still male or female, and the stances. Those are the only things that really stay the same. If you go to the upper body tab and the lower body tab, all of the options there are also different. You'll see all of the options for Klingon, or KDF, I should say, faction armor and clothing. Okay. That's pretty much it for customization. I mean, like I said before, everyone knows how to do these things. The little color squares under the bottom basically allow you to tailor the color of each piece that you put onto your costume. Question that I got was, people like to create their own alien race. So the easiest thing to do, whether Starfleet or Klingon, is to actually change the species to alien. And this is where it gets fun. And once you select alien brings up pretty much every option that you could create. I mean, you can create an alien character that looks like a Klingon. Why would you want to do that? I mean, when you already have Klingons. So what we're going to do for fun is we're going to have a species of alien, and then we're going to go back to randomize all. And the captain is playing with the sliders there. And now, ooh. All right. That one looks interesting. Okay. Is my, I can't hear anyone. Is everyone still? Oh,
we're just quiet.
Oh, wait.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, everyone's quiet for me. That's great. So what you have here is obviously a very interesting creation. What I like to do when I create my own races is I'll just go and randomize everything until something comes up that I may or may not like, and then just sort of fine tune it from there. So
mash the random button.
Yes. That's really ugly. But I suppose not all aliens, need to be pretty. Oh, that's interesting looking. But in any case, that's the general gist of it. And then, from there, like if you go back to the head tab, interesting. You'll see that you have, you can change details to reflect different races, like the nose detail, for example, that we're in front of. You can basically change I guess the skin here doesn't exactly allow for that very much.
Well, they don't, huh? Look at that. Oh, this one's different.
Yeah, that looks very different.
There seems to be a theme of green.
Yes, it likes green very much. The other thing that I actually really like about using alien, for example, so for a second there, while you're playing with the ridges, go up to skin. And you'll see just the multitude of colors that you can use to completely change the look of your costume. So let's keep it this way for now, and we'll save, Mother as a costume. All right. So now we're going to go to one of the maps. We still have a map created. We still have a ground map created, correct?
No. But
We don't.
that's 2 seconds.
Right.
Okay, let's just do Pine Hills, which is fine.
It has to be the right map to show off this character.
Yeah, let's do an interior. Interior maps are easy.
Well, okay. Yeah, let's just do someplace that's bright enough. This is good.
Okay, now we have our map created. So what we're going to do is in that first room, just zoom in there, and we are going to go to NPC contacts. And on that list, what you're going to see are the different types of contacts that you can put down, but at the very top are also going to be all of your costumes. So we'll take Mother, and we'll just drag it to the map. Okay. Now, okay, and we'll click on Mother. Now, on that tab, or right below, you'll see the general, the advanced behavior, and the states. Under general, you can click a particular behavior, and this is actually part of dialogues. But costume plays a very important role. Contact and so we'll just keep it for we'll just keep it at that contact for now. Okay. All right. Now, the most important thing is that we may have Mother here as a costume, as an NPC, as somebody that we can talk to, or somebody that we can add a dialogue to in the mission. However, that little green dot is just that. It's just a costume skinned over whatever contact is going to be talking. So if you ever want to change that, there's a little, you see where it says costume right underneath the name. And you'll just click on that, and that will allow you to totally change whatever is being skinned over that object. Are you with me, Cap?
What do you want to do? Drop an NPC group, like a TOG or something? Is that...
No. Click on costume underneath underneath Mother.
Underneath Mother.
Yeah, you see where on the general tab.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath, just click on costume.
Yeah.
And then that'll actually allow you to change the costume to whoever you want. And we'll just say Mother is now an Academy Cadet. Just pick any of them.
So basically, the moral of the story is that in the 25th century, you can be whoever you want to be.
Exactly. Just like the internet.
Not only gender reassignment, but their species as well.
Exactly. All right. So what we're going to do now is, now that Academy Cadet is automatically Academy Cadet, you can also change the name of the Academy Cadet to, whoever you like. We'll name him Frank, for argument's sake. I actually don't know anyone named Frank. It just came to me. All right, so now we're going to go to the NPC groups, which are your bad guys, and we'll throw down some. We'll make it interesting. We'll throw down. We won't throw down Bork. Let's just throw down some Klingons.
Why don't make it simple for yourself and throw down some Federation?
Okay.
So you don't have to fight anyone.
Okay, fair enough. All right. When you throw these guys down, these. Well, this is part of the map function as well, but it'll automatically tell you once you're picking a group of mobs on the right hand side exactly what each of these different enemies are, or allies in this case, and their general level of skill. In this case, you now have 5 red bags of Federation abilities. What you can do is you can click on each one, so just click on the first actor that comes on the list, and then you can alter their costume very much the same way that we just did with Mother. So we're going to change the default costume, which it automatically assigns a random Federation officer to, and we'll change it to Mother. And there. Now Mother's a full-fledged member of the Federation with all the abilities and the like. And so what we'll do for fun, we'll say that Mother is actually a clone. We'll say it's a clone race, and just change all the actors to Mother. Or 2 or 3 if you don't want to use up the time. Okay. Yeah, 3 should be good.
Right.
Alright. And then we'll just, alright, you can go all the way through.
All set.
Yep, and then after that we will preview the map. Now, just remember, while we're waiting, every costume that you put down, and this is also going to come up with, in dialogues, that will come up in dialogue as well. The dialogue box automatically puts whatever costume is skinned onto that unit into the dialogue box.
So behind Frank, we
So-
have a squadron of mothers.
Yep. Frank doesn't know what's coming for him. And neither do your boss, apparently. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you can go in and decide that, you want to put down some Cardassians, and they can all also look like Mother, if you like, or look like, some other costume that you create or some other race. The entire point is that whatever you create, we'll always have the abilities of whatever you skin it onto. So, if you put down Borg, which, might look weird sometimes, you can create a brand new alien race, put them on a bunch of Borg, and then you'll have your race. So, it's assimilation, capabilities. So,
like I did, you can have little Santas, little helper elves running around as Borg. That's always fun.
Very nightmarish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Costuming is very good for doing something like the Ferengi, where there isn't a a Ferengi mob or another, race that you create yourself. It allows you that freedom to make them look like however you want.
Exactly. And the Foundry itself is all about creativity and storytelling. And you can't tell stories without good characters. That being the case, anything that you uniquely create also has whatever little bit of personality that you put into it. So you get to pick and choose, who or what goes on the map. And that brings the player into the experience that, he's not by himself in the entire scenario, for example. All right, we're going to go back to the editor. And we will discuss something that a lot of people have learned a few tricks and tips with, and that is the import-export. What you can do, we'll go back to the costumes tab. Okay. And what we'll do from here is we will take Mother, which I have... Hold on just a second. Alright. What we'll do is we'll click on Mother, and there will be there are two buttons that are underneath the actual, digital representation of the costume. And there's import and there's an export. So we're going to export Mother onto Cap computer. Sorry, Cap.
No problem.
All right. Now these costumes, they always get saved in I believe it's the STO screenshots folder.
Correct.
And any of these can actually be just like any other file, emailed or uploaded, downloaded, what have you, shared with other people if you you have players that want to use them in their Foundry missions or stories. And they can also be imported at any time over anything that you want. So, like, what we'll do is we'll create another costume just for now, just for an example. Another ground character. And we'll name this one Ship, since we're going on a theme.
Okay, so this is an actual space.
No, this is a ground character. I'm just being silly.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll call it Ship.
Okay. Now you have your basic costume as it always starts out. Now, if you want to just recreate what you created before and you don't want to do any of the work, you just go back down to the import button. And it will list all of Captain's costumes and Mother. And just click on the import button from there. And voila, you have Mother right back where you started. Now Ship looks just like Mother.
And we can do that from the editor and from the tailor and all that sort of thing. So people can send you your friends can send you themselves in from their tailor, and you can import that and all that sort of fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's the what I do sometimes. I'll go into the Foundry editor and I'll just make costumes up that will fit whatever race that I'm using for a bridge officer or the like, and I'll just import it into the tailor in the actual game.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to do now, so we'll take Chow, since you're on it. And what you can also do with the import function is you can also import everything that's already available on the Foundry list, any of the pre-made. So what you're going to do is you click on import, and on the pre-made tab, then you have a whole bunch of stuff. Now this allows you to actually really experiment. Sometimes it wigs out. We're going to go down to Manus of Borg, for example.
Oh, this is interesting.
And I think it gives you kind of like a Borg buff is the costume that it gives you. And then you click import, and then it'll give you like a sort of like a buff outfit with blue boots. Now, what you'll notice is on the right-hand side, the species and gender will be missing, since most of the pre-made costumes don't really have any of that limitation. There are also a lot of menus that you can play with. The complexion, head, nose. I mean, a lot of these have different unknown effects depending on what you end up importing. But in this case, you can technically make any general type of Borg. What also works? Borg with hair. What also works is if you import another pre-made, for example, like a Starfleet character that's wearing any type of the body armor. That body armor will also import into the editor, and I believe it has pull downs that'll give you different types, tactical and science, and the energy or the like. So I mean, it's a huge set of options that you can play with. I mean, we're not going to spend too much time on it now. The best thing I can tell you is to just go in and play. You can make so many different types of characters, so many different types of species, so many different types of races, and it's really just limited by whatever imagination carries you, whatever your imagination carries you. And that is pretty much it as far as I have on costumes. If anyone has any questions.
Awesome. Yeah, so does anyone in the chat have any questions, or does anyone on the panel want to add anything to costumes? Very quickly.
What did I miss?
Oh! Hello, Poppy back.
Yeah, no thanks to my internet provider.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to miss out dialogues this week. We've just run far too far over time. And there was me worried we wouldn't have much to talk about. Obviously, there's a lot we can talk about.
I will record something on dialogue. It'd probably be easier for me to control it.
Yeah.
I'll record something. I'll get it to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and we'll upload.
If anything, I'll upload it to my own channel, and you can link to it.
Yeah. We'll work something out. Awesome sauce. So, does anyone have any questions at all, or any comments? Because especially with this, the importing of the strange characters, you can really do some absolutely crazy stuff. A lot of the objects actually aren't linked up, so it's kind of interesting to see how it's all sort of linking together, and what's actually been hooked up into the Foundry and what hasn't. So, yeah.
Okay. We do have a question. Is there a website where people can download resources other people have created and uploaded to share with the community?
Well, there isn't really at the moment. There have been a couple of attempts to try and do that. There used to be with the Starbase UGC wiki, and in theory you could use the STO wiki, but Primetime UGC may be coming out with something that will help us with sharing files like this around. It depends on what we're looking into it.
I believe there's a post recently on Starbase UGC by Lincoln in Space. He had put up that kind of like a section where he had put down, just posted 3 pictures of his characters on there, and so we can kind of get that as a whole put together, kind of like a database.
Yeah, it would be amazing if we could get this database together. Some of us have been looking into the code that saves into these into the files. So we're learning a way around them. So hopefully one day we may even be able to sort between the different things and mix and match, and possibly even create an entirely custom NPC for the Foundry from outside the game, which would be amazing. But hey ho, we'll see. Yeah. So unless anyone else has anything else to say, okay, I'll take that as a no then. And I'd just like to take a moment to thank all the panelists that have come on. So thank you guys.
Yep, sorry about my disappearing, but we're good.
No
I'm
problem.
applauding you all. You've done an excellent job.
We do have, one question from, one more question.
Okay.
Paul was saying that stories are linear, but the Syndicate Extraction and a lot of other missions out there, there are optional elements to them. What tricks can we use to gain more control over the linear nature of the story?
That may be something we want to cover next week, or when we get into a more technical side.
That was always planned to be next week's. No, not next week's, but the next the next installment. Just because it gets pretty intense.
That goes into advanced.
Yeah, yes. You're like asking first day of driving school, how do you replace a transmission? Let's get the basics down first.
Yeah. It's very much it's gaming the system.
Right.
Paul was exactly right. The Foundry is a linear system. You start at one point, no matter what. You always start at one point and you finish at another certain point. Along that way, you can trick the player into thinking that that's not the case, that they're actually doing something else, that their actions actually have an effect. But really, they don't. And really, the entire point of the Foundry is to trick the player and give them this experience to make them really feel like they're involved, they are interacting with this story, it's evolving with them, and all that sort of thing. We will have that for you next time, and it'll be something that individual authors, when you're in your smaller groups, you can have a much better sort of understanding of. As far as branching dialogue comes,
I'll be covering that one in my video.
Bob will be covering that, and we'll upload that and make sure that's available for everyone. Thank you everyone for coming along and watching. All 20 odd of you. It's been fabulous. Spread the word, and make sure you check out the next one, which is on the 6th of April, if I am correct. Same time, same place. If you want any more extra information, that will all be posted on the forum. And you can get that linked from Starbase UGC or from directly on Star Trek Online's website. Follow us on Twitter, etc., etc. Does anyone want to throw out their Twitter handles just as general things?
Yeah, mine's at Babylonia. Commodore's Bob is at _Commodore Bob. Cerberus Films is at Cerberus Films. I'm not sure who else has Twitter.
Oh, make sure you misspell Commodore wrong.
I'm at Scott on one.
And Primetime UGC is Primetime_UGC.
And you sound just like a TV announcer when you do that. That's amazing. They'll also all be linked in the descriptions of the videos. We'll put as many resources and everything as we can. Make sure you check out StarbaseUGC.com. There will always be tutorials there and people in the chat who are willing to help. A lot of us are there, almost 24/7. It's sad, but we are. It's fun. We have a lot of fun in there. Very last thank you goes to the Foundry gods, because our sacrificial offering obviously helped, because we have not had a single crash in the 3.5 hours we've been streaming. So thank you, Foundry. Let's just all take a moment to pray to the great Foundry gods and to offer up another sacrifice. Baz, I hope you brought them with you. Did you?
No. Was I meant to?
Oh dear. Baz has angered the Foundry gods.
I don't know about thanks. I mean, we all know what the Foundry giveth, the Foundry also taketh away.
Yes, it's very true.
I actually brought a Packlet red shirt for it. So it should be satisfied with that.
Oh, I have a turkey top potato that I will sacrifice very soon.
So yeah, thank you very much, guys. And yes, it won't be available for download, but it will be available on YouTube to be watched at your leisure. And we'll make sure to update the forum posts with all those links. Check out salvageugc.com and Twitter, all over the place. We're everywhere. We are infesting the whole world, I'm sure. That sounded scary, actually. We're not. We're lovely, nice people. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone. And any last words from anybody?
Have a good night.
We'll just see you next week.
See you next time.
I've got one, actually.
Okay.
For you guys, in between the, until the next time that we're on, get on there and just play around. You want options in your adventures. I'll give you a clue. Pop-up dialogues and triggers. Investigate both of them.
Make sure you seriously. The best way to learn the Foundry is to get in there, play about with it. The next time we're on the 6th, it will be the tutorials will be more advanced. We'll assume a bit more knowledge of the Foundry. So if you want to be up to speed and want to be getting there, and also if you want to have a good shot at winning those promotional cryptic points and all the other wonderful prizes that are being offered for week 3 during the competition, seriously, just get in there, go and play, get it awesome, basically. Be awesome. Thank you very much, guys, and make sure you're ready to cut the stream, Paul, because I'm about to say it. Woof.